All right, big warning before we get started. Comic spoilers for Marvel in general follow, specifically for what we think is Amazing Spider-Man 26. So if you don't want spoilers, please save this episode and come back and watch it later. Now, if you follow anything on the internet comic book related, especially Amazing Spider-Man, either Reddit or Twitter or Discord, probably spoiled what we think is Amazing Spider-Man 26, which is going to be the death of Kamala Khan. And there's a lot of frustration with this. Understandably so, frustration that I share. People are calling this fridging of a character, which that might be a term that you're not familiar with. So what is fridging? We're going to talk about the origins of the term, its implications, what it means, but we're also going to talk about whether or not this is an instance of that and how we're going to know. And we're also going to talk about another problem that Marvel and DC both share, which is a demonstrable history of killing characters in comics just to promote their future movies, and also to make characters just like they are in the movies instead of keeping them the way that they are and people enjoy in the comics. I'm Dan Umpton, and this is the Doomcast. So first off, do me a favor, hit subscribe and the bell. I make about one of these videos a week. They're all great, I promise, so don't miss even a one. Feel like I should start off by saying that I am an unabashed fan of Zeb Wells as a comic book writer. Not all of you are. I totally understand that. There's a lot of people that don't like him right now. Robot Chicken is a modern sketch comedy classic. I love it. Shed is one of my favorite Amazing Spider-Man stories of the modern era. Hellions was one of the best Krakoan X-Men titles of its time while it was being published. I'm also an unabashed fan of Ms. Marvel, Kamala Khan, at least the comic book version. Less so the MCU version, although I found the show charming and enjoyable. Felt like the last episode was a little rushed. But I mostly like regular Kamala Khan just because I think being stretchy is a great power and it made her weird and endearing. So having a writer I like, again, I know a lot of you don't like Paul, I won't tell you what to like, it's fine. I think that killing off a character that I like, having a writer that I like, killing that character that I like, is pretty conflicting. But I have a few theories about what this is. Okay, one, this may or may not be an example of fridging. It's got to meet certain criteria, which I'll explain. Two, this may or may not be an example of Marvel killing off a character just to promote their movie again, which I'll explain. Three, they might be resetting Kamala Khan in comics to be a mutant with MCU-style powers, which in my opinion would suck so fucking bad. Three, these decisions are likely not Zeb Wells, at least not alone, but largely editorial as dictated by Bob Iger or Kevin Feige, probably Feige. They want continuity, and I'm sure that Kevin Feige has editorial Marvel's ear. Okay, so first let's talk about fridging. The term arose in the mid-1990s, and I think it might have been coined by Gail Simone. Could be wrong about that. But Green Lantern Kyle Rayner was new, recently introduced. His girlfriend, Alexandra DeWitt, who had also been relatively recently introduced, was murdered by villain Major Force and stuffed into Kyle Rayner's apartment fridge just for shock value. Now, while this is not only genuinely evil serial killer stuff, it created and drew attention to this act specifically, which is the killing of female characters, most often supporting characters, for the cheap development of a central male protagonist. And of course, I'm a big Green Lantern fan. I'm a big Kyle Rayner fan. Specifically, that was one of the runs where I started picking up comics again on my own for the first time as a kid. And I like Ron Mars. But the problem there, of course, is treating women as objects for development and not giving them any kind of development, making them secondary, not human, not even characters, just a plot device. And if you think about this, there's examples of this everywhere, right? You drill down. Kara Zor-El in Crisis on Infinite Earths, Gwen Stacy in Spider-Man, Punisher's family, specifically his wife, Ilyana Rasputina at one point. You might consider a whole bunch of examples of this because it happens a lot. However, it's worth noting as well, you get examples of young male sidekicks killed for cheap character development as well, like Bucky, Jason Todd, Roy Harper, although they generally come back resurrected in darker reflections of their original earlier incarnation, not thrown away and discarded. So the question is, Is that what's happening to Kamala Khan? Is she being killed for the cheap development of a male central protagonist? Possibly. It's hard to say, but I don't know if that's the plan. She's no side character, and she's not even being killed off in her own book, which feels freaking disrespectful. But why is this happening? Because if it's for the reason that I think, it might not be an example of fridging, because this will depend on a couple of things. But I want to clearly provide a caveat. I could well be wrong on this. I'm a straight white dude. I'm well aware of my implicit bias, as much as I try to check it, and for what it's worth, I can't speak for him, I think Zeb Wells probably is also. But if we're killing Kamala Khan for no other reason than to develop Peter Parker, I think, yes, this is a pretty clear case of fridging. But why do that? Peter is a 60-year-old comic legend that is universally recognized, at least as much so as Batman, a highly developed character with a relatively complex character for comics. Frankly, killing the best new character in a little more than a decade for nothing seems like a huge waste. Which is why my guess is it's the latter, that Marvel and Disney are killing her off for possibly two reasons: to promote the upcoming Marvels film in November, and possibly also to resurrect her in the future with MCU shitty Green Lantern powers, which, based on the newly leaked covers for X-Men Born Anew, or Reborn Anew, which apparently is going to drop in August, that I am guessing that probably suggests that that's exactly what they're going to do. Is this still an example of fridging if they do that? Maybe. I don't know. I don't think so, because I think that the contingency there is that it's cheaply done for the development of a male character. Like, words have to mean things, so we can't really call every instance of a comic killing off a popular female character or a female side character as fridging. It's gotta mean something there. I don't know. Maybe it is. Like I said, I could be wrong. But it is definitely an example of something more. Johnny Storm, Batman, Wolverine, Scarlet Witch, Doctor Strange, Black Knight. Go back far enough and there's examples all over comics, as long as movies have been made, mostly Marvel doing this, killing off major characters just before a movie in which their central figure comes out. It happened in Fantastic Four 2014, Batman right before The Dark Knight, Scarlet Witch and Doctor Strange before Multiverse of Madness, The Black Knight right before Eternals. There's a lot of very weird and pointless examples, and I don't know if it's just to call attention to the characters in comics, but it seems weird to publish comics without the characters your movie sold for a year after the movie comes out, when people just want to read that character and not Clea Strange. But I'm not knocking that example, because Jed McKay knocked that out of the park, frankly, and it was great, but just the same, come on. But no question, my absolute biggest gripe is going to be if they do what I think they're going to do based on those leaks of those covers, which is that I think the Krakoans are going to resurrect Kamala Khan, and the mutant DNA or something is going to fiddle with her powers and make her like a crystal Green Lantern like she is in the MCU. And God damn it, that's going to fucking suck shit. Because the best and most enjoyable part of Kamala Khan, not the best and most enjoyable, but one of the cool things is that her powers are not glamorous. They're not shiny, they aren't sexy, they aren't explodey like Captain Marvel. They're weird and they're awkward, and she does things with them that feel inspiring and powerful and clever and good. And she was one of the only parts of the Avengers game that was fun. Like, they told the whole thing from her perspective, which was the only real win of that game. And also, she was one of the best parts of the last Ultimate Alliance game. She was also the leader of the Champions. She's one of the few young women of color in comics as a main character with a main book, so I don't know why they're making the decision to kill her off. It is ridiculous. Ridiculous. So, I'm gonna wait to read it. But regardless, as a fan, I'm not gonna let myself project negative feelings or anger at the real people creating books or movies. Not the writers, the artists, the directors, or the actors behind them. That's not something people should do just because they're a fan of something. You're not entitled to ruin somebody else's life. Not billionaires, though. Fuck them. Bob Iger and Kevin Feige, totally fair game. If your net worth is over $1 billion, fuck them. Normies can treat you however they want. It doesn't matter. Regular people, though? Regular people, let's live and let live, right? Okay? Hopefully, we'll get regular Kamala Khan back again soon. Stretchy and all. Thanks, everybody. Hope to see you again. Take care and have a great week. Peace.